Welcome everyone to the CANDU Sports Show. Your co-hosts here, we have Donray Bennett and then myself, Scott Blair. So glad you can join us today. I think we got episode 6, right, Donray?
We're on number 6. We have a lot of plans for the future, but we gotta take it one by one. Episode 6, and it's great to be here. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Great time of year, end of January. We've got a whole lot of stuff on the horizon sport-wise, so it's good to be able to
We
chop
do.
it up with you here this morning.
Absolutely. And let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it. We're gonna start with um a sport that we haven't dedicated too much time to, but
Hmm.
it's definitely in both of our attention patterns, if you will, over the last couple weeks, couple years, really. Um, Something happened in women's
Hmm.
college basketball uh, that was bound to happen if it hasn't happened before, but this time with a star player in Caitlin Clark, after being upset at Indiana. Um, storm, there was a storming of the court.
Ohio State. Wasn't it Ohio State?
Ohio State, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Ohio State. There was a storming of the court, and a fan ran into her. What are your thoughts about that celebration as as a whole? I know it's a part of college sports, but does anything have to be done? Is this a one-off? Did she exaggerate it?
Yeah.
What did you see?
Well, first, there is so much going on. I think there's more energy personally in the women's hoops game right now than there is in men's, but that's just my one opinion. And
Sure.
and neither's better than the other. Just I see more excitement coming out of there. But yeah, starting with that, there's a couple of things with college hoops, and of course, I share this even with a background as a coach that I would like to see gone forever. And one of them is court storming. I don't
Mm,
understand it. It's a player safety thing. Oh, but it's the celebration of college athletics. You're at a sporting event. You don't rush the court. And it's not even for the safety of the players and the coaches and the officials. It's for the players and it's for the safety of the spectators. So I don't understand why that is still a thing. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get. Well, you want to celebrate a big win. There's other ways to celebrate a big win. So I say that along with there's also a school of thought if you can do court storming with rules and security and things of that sort. Okay, so let's go down that route. If that's the answer, Ohio State, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then the thing that's weird, so Caitlin Clark it looks from the camera that she's just running, jogging off the court, and is in a different place. Her head's kind of down, and she's just kind of running. And that's what we do when we leave the court. I do that myself. You don't really maybe pay too much to the surroundings, and then all of a sudden a fan comes running out and they run into each other. I find it odd that people are trying to slow-mo the video to make it look like, well, maybe Caitlin was flopping when she got hit. Like, what are we doing, y'all? She got hit. And it raises the question of, again, security, where you at? And the number one priority has got to be, we got to get the players and the officials off the court. And you should have some sense when the Iowa Hawkeyes are coming into town, when the Yukon Huskies are coming into town, when South Carolina's coming into town, when LSU's coming into town, that something like this might happen if the home team is winning, right? So that's just my quick response. But if I can just add, Don Ray, just other women's hoops. I mean, we had LSU, South Carolina. Last night we had an exciting UConn versus Notre Dame game. Notre Dame looked amazing in the closing minutes. Um, but as we kind of jump into those really quick, that's my hot take. Oh, I didn't say the other one. So I want to see court storming gone. I also want to see the handshake gone, the handshake line. I want to see that gone. What I like, and some schools did this, have done this, is that they do a handshake line before the game starts. And I had the privilege of coaching, being on the sidelines once with Kutztown against Syracuse, and that's something that Syracuse does. At least with Boeheim, is you're standing for the national anthem. When the anthem is done, you come across half court and you shake the hand of the person that's your mirror, and then that's it. Then we're done. That way, everyone's in a different state of mind after the game. So then you're doing handshakes. It's like, no, game's over. That's it. We're done. Go to the locker rooms. So too much emotion, too much bad things can happen, whether it's Juwan Howard last year and things like that. Um, Court storming gone, handshake line after the game, get rid of that.
wow. Now, I tend to agree with you, except the reason why I never had an issue with it as much before, but now you don't do it in the pros. right? There's no storming in the pros.
Nope.
And why? Is it because they've seen as property, as folks who are paid to put on
Ooh,
a
what's that
show, and
rabbit hole? Watch that
if
rabbit
you hurt
hole.
them, that's exactly what they are they belong to someone. They
Yeah.
are someone's workers, and there is a transaction that occurs to ensure that they're their workers, and they have stuff in their contract where they can't ride a motorcycle, go play here, or do that because in fear of them getting hurt, and so they will never let someone storm the court. Now in college, up until this year, I mean, one could argue that that is not the case, but now with this NIL money and things of that nature, there's no way if I'm sponsoring this player for $2 million a year or whatnot, that I'm okay with some random just running
Right.
in and
Right.
not being illegal against policy or not getting in trouble. So I think with
Oh, yeah.
with the infusion of money, I think we will see things like this start to change. The handshake business, I'm with you. I do see value in it at the younger ages. Little league, I always remember after games lining up and doing it. But the more that's invested, the harder it is for me.
Yeah.
After a game, after a poor performance, after a heartbreaking loss, th- come on,
Yeah.
come
There's
on.
a
I mean,
higher
there's
suit.
guys,
Yeah.
it's tough. My cousin last night had one of the best games he's ever played, down at Hillsborough Community College, Caleb.
Shout out.
And yeah, he had rough ending to the game, couple turnovers, and I'm sure he's kicking himself. He doesn't want to hear about how great he did.
Right.
No one, I know I didn't, I'm sure you didn't. You want to win. And when your heart breaks because that there's no pat on the back, get him next time. Thanks, Russell Wilson, or great game anyway. Like no one wants to hear that. You are in a mental state of everyone needs something different, but so many individuals just don't want to
Yeah.
be bothered by being asked.
No.
That's why I can't stand the mid-game, interviews and stuff like that. What are
Yeah.
we doing in the
Yeah.
dugouts at halftime? Nobody wants to talk to you. And so I'm fine with getting rid of that as well. Although, um,
Shout out to Greg Popovich. We appreciate the way you handled those.
yes,
So,
but I do want to see better sportsmanship during the game. That's where, if you do it better during the game, then I can definitely see with doing away with the handshake line. If you're unable to demonstrate good sportsmanship during the game, then it's almost like punitive, in my opinion. Then I need to see that handshake
yeah.
line because at some point I want you demonstrating to that next generation what it's like to be a good sportsman. But yeah,
And
so
and
I'm
ha
with it.
and just to the viewers, right? If you're like, well, what does the handshake line have to do with Caitlin Clark, um, Iowa and Ohio State? Well, if there's no handshake line, as soon as the game's over, what is the team doing? They're going right to the locker room. So it actually
Very true.
helps with both things. And there are multiple sports that do not do the handshake line, right? When a hockey game is over, but both hockey, they go to their locker rooms. Baseball, what happens? They go to their locker rooms, right? The winning team, if they're the home team, they'll do like the little handshake on the pitcher's mound, but for themselves, just within the
Mhm.
team, right? So let's not act like we haven't. And then football, well, you get the but that's not a handshake line. People just give
Right,
love to their old
right.
college teammate or a friend, and that's it. If you wanted to do that with basketball, cool. But the traditional handshake line, I love what I've seen with other colleges. You do that at the beginning of the game. So not to
Sure.
sidetrack on the women's basketball issue, but important part to the Caitlin Clark item.
Mhm.
LSU
What you see
South
in that game? Yeah, what you see in that game? That was a big one. That was a
LSU
big
South
one. It started
Carolina.
out shaky.
I saw
Yep,
the
LSU had it until I mean that fourth quarter was another level.
in my opinion, I saw the two best teams in women's college basketball. So, must respect to Iowa. And forgive me, I just lost her name, but Iowa had a fantastic center last year, and she was a senior, so she's not on the
Mhm.
team anymore, of course. And in my opinion, they're missing her. I mean, they're still doing great and everything else. Don't get me wrong. There's a reason why they're number 5 or 6 in the country.
Mhm.
But LSU just loaded. Angel Reese, you've got Haley Van Lith. I mean, just going down the list, you've got some solid talent in some key positions now that the whole stuff that happened at the beginning of the year is behind them, stabilized. And then South Carolina, they're coached by arguably the second best coach in the sport. I say second best because to me it's always going to be Gino. I think Gino's one of the best college basketball coaches, period. But yeah, that was in South Carolina was up by I think 4 or 6 points.
Gone.
And then South Carolina came back and won. I think it was 76-70, something close to
Hmm.
that.
Yep.
And just fantastic. And I loved the play down in the post by both centers with Angel Reese and her opponent from South Carolina. And yeah, just good basketball. If we can have that in the Final Four, we are going to be blessed college basketball fans. And then last word on UConn. They are doing everything they can, right? They have lost three, I think, three of their starting
Wow.
players due to significant knee injuries. So they still have Edwards, who's a fantastic post player, and of course, my favorite college basketball women's college player, Paige Beckers. But there's only so much you can do when you have all that talent gone. And I think you saw a little bit of that with Notre Dame with some young talent, and they just got hot at the right time. It was
Mm,
tied at 60. And yeah, Notre Dame pulled away and I think won by like 14 or 15 points. So yeah, there's the women's hoops second.
wow. Well, yeah, that's awesome to hear. And the good now here's where I'm gonna be a hypocrite because I'm always rooting for the underdog, especially in come March Madness on the men's side. I like to see those blue bloods or the favorites, those one seeds get upset. Um, but in women's basketball, I've come around to appreciating the fact that more often than not, you've got the best teams in the Final Four, at least two or three.
Yeah.
There may be one that slips in from here and there, but
Syracuse.
that
I still can't believe they made it to the championship game
that
a couple of years
yeah,
ago. Crazy.
yeah. We'll see if that ever happens again in our lifetime.
It was
But
awesome, but once they got
but
there, man,
right,
UConn
and
select them.
but it's so it's great to see that. It's great to see that. But that's where I feel like a game of that magnitude that played up to it as well. I feel very confident in knowing that they're probably going to see each other in the big tournament. You know what I mean? Um, and then you got teams like this is Gino's best coaching job yet. I mean,
It,
I I
it's a
love
good
it.
one.
I yes, and for the purists of the world, not that that's something to take pride in. I don't take pride in it as much anymore, but I still am that. Um, I love set basketball. I love where the sum, eclipses the individuals, and there's no better place to see it than in women's college basketball when the
Love it.
players collect.
Let's stop there because you're right, and that's what I saw last night, and again in a defeat from UConn. Right, just the beauty of the game, how and you see it occasionally in the pros, occasionally in men's hoops, but the post to post screen, right? The big screens across for the big, and then you run right into high low action. When you're running some high ball screen, maybe you're slipping the big, but then you're rising the other big up top. So if you're ducking in to help in the roll, the other big's going to be open as they drift up to the top of the key. Just those little actions where it's not just dribble penetration into the wing, passing it to
And
the
people
open
are
player.
moving. You
Yeah,
don't go into a corner and sit because you're some sort of defensive person who can't contribute to the offense. And
there
so,
we go.
yes, I agree. You make those defenders work, and things happen. So,
Yeah. And again,
um,
shout out men's hoops. Y'all doing what you do. It's all good, right? And Patinos and some of the old head classic coaches that are still out there, and some of the young innovators. But from the women's game, yeah, it was pretty good to see.
yeah,
And shout out, of course, to Philly's own Don Staley with the big win this week.
whoop, whoop. Absolutely.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, so let's flip the script. Let's keep it going. I'm gonna pass it to you now, and let's talk about the NBA. We got all sorts of
Mm,
things. We got Doc Rivers is back, Philadelphia's favorite coach, and
Lord
then
help.
we've had all of these points, 70 point games like every other night. We also had Karl Anthony Towns dropped a 62-point game, I think, in a loss on the same night
Mm,
of the 70 point game from Joel Embiid, which also was the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's 81
81.
point game. So rest in
Mm.
peace to Kobe. But what you got?
Well, first, with respect to those scoring attacks, they were very different, very different. What I'll say they each had in common is, on fire, high field goal percentage. The difference between William Cat and Embiid was simply that if you watch the Sixers game, you wouldn't believe if you didn't watch the game, you wouldn't believe how selfless he was and how much he moved the ball and how he was trying to get his players involved and how many assists or secondary assists, if it was a hockey game, he really had, and how it was hard to guard him 1-on-1, 2-on-1, but we also moved the ball and it happened
Yeah.
differently. Cat, on the other hand, caught fire from and only 1 3. Cat, on the other hand, 8 threes. He was on fire. He was shooting it, but when it came down to crunch time, that fourth quarter, he was forcing it, and his teammates were just standing around, just giving him the ball. It was a completely different, feel, and as a result, they ended up losing. I mean, he didn't maintain
Right.
his fire, and that just isn't the way to go about it. I thought Embiid showed great maturity in his approach. Luka was on fire, but you sent me a clip that had me laughing, and I'm sure would have several others rolling in their grave of, is this what defense is now? I mean, it's comical. Some of the opportunities that these players get on an offensive end where it's limited effort to get a basket, and it's a shame. It really is a shame. I think I would think that your own dignity and competitiveness would not allow you to, on a national stage, allow someone to score with such ease. But you still got to do it,
Yeah.
right? And so Luka did. I don't want to take anything away from Luka, because to put up that much, the stamina that's required, the focus, to be able to shoot that well from the field, um, you know, can't be. I
It's
don't
a
want to
great
take anything
achievement.
from,
It's a
but the
great achievement.
defense, the defense was poor to
The
say. But I didn't watch the
defense
whole game. I didn't watch the whole game, so I can't. But that
defense in
clip
the
was telling.
NBA leaves much to be desired. Yeah, for sure. And also shout out to Luca because he dropped that on the night in which I think he was on TNT and he was talking about the exchange that he had with the fan the previous night. And he owned it.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, I probably could have done that better. So, all that stuff is going on. And as the true competitors he did, he went out there and just dominated. Really, really great effort. But yeah, defense, I mean, I get it, right? We're kids. We grew up in the 90s watching 90s hoops, late 80s hoops with the Barclays and Phoenix and Philly and the Rex Chapman. So we've seen scoring, right? The old Phoenix Suns used to torch. They always would drop points. So this is not to say that it's a newer phenomenon, but it just seems different right now. And I mean, we even had the Bulls played the Lakers earlier this week, and the Lakers won 141 to 132 in regulation. How, what? Wow. So, yeah, some wild stuff. Joel Embiid, I'm loving. I hope we get a Sixers Nuggets finals because last
Yes.
night, right, the Nuggets fans are chanting, "Where's Joel?" or something like that because he didn't
Yeah.
play in the game. So I'm
But neither
loving it.
did Maxi.
Yeah, Maxie didn't either, and it was
And
still only like a
we still
seven.
almost pulled it out. Yeah.
Yeah, close game. So what you got on Doc though? Let's wrap up the NBA with a little
Listen,
Doc talk.
this I don't know what happened. I think we can all assume that it goes beyond the court, right? Same thing happened to Blatt almost
Yeah,
to the
David Blatt.
day, and then they went on to win the chip. Um, on one end, I want to commend the administration, because if in fact they knew that team was good because of their talent, not because of their coaching, and
Yeah, and
in
there
no
was
way, shape,
this.
or form were they going to get to where they want to be, then kudos, because some of the
That's
organizations
fair.
in Philly are the exact opposite. Well, we're winning, so we can't, but they don't look through. So if that's the case, then shout out to them. Hiding behind, or some of the things that leaking out the defense, that's BS. I don't know why you even throw that out there. You got rid of the best perimeter
Yep. True
guard, and
Holiday.
you brought in an offensive juggernaut who's also not a defensive, the exact opposite, polar opposite. So that's silly.
Yep.
But Doc Rivers, are we serious? I mean, his history. I don't know what you're looking. I don't know what on the resume suggests that he can win
Celtics.
with
That's
a
it.
good team.
He's still
And then
riding
he's
the
had
Celtics.
several good teams since. Right? He had Tracy McGrady and lost 20 something in a row. He had the Lob City and lost a 3-0 or 3-1 lead. He had the Sixers. He had Ben Simmons, who turned into nothing under him. He had Embiid and Harden and lost a 3-1 and a 3-2. Like, he no way, shape, or form does it suggest that he's qualified. There's got to be someone better out there. There's got to be. I mean, I don't know why Cassell doesn't have a job. It impresses me that he continues to get the opportunities he gets, and I like him as a father figure, leader, general. But I don't understand how you get this job at this point. And quite frankly, I just don't get it. It's just it makes no sense. Make it make sense, Scott, because you're a coach. You've seen it. You look at it from a different perspective. Make it make sense how a man who has demonstrated an ability to fail with great, not really good teams,
I'm taking the glasses off for this one.
really good teams, and he's won once with 3 Hall of Famers, and
Yes.
then nothing since. In fact, he's blown leads with better teams.
So this is my take. This is my this would be my the counter argument is, let's be real. When he was the coach of the Clippers, I need to pull up the season by season breakdown, but I'm confident that I think every season except maybe one, Chris Paul got hurt as they were going into the playoffs or were in the playoffs. So and that's been Chris Paul's MO. He's still, unfortunately, I don't know how many times he's hurt his hand and had surgery. And I like watching Chris Paul play, but I'm just saying the Clippers were never at full strength.
Okay.
And Chris Paul arguably was their best player, maybe next to Blake Griffin. But he's your floor general and he's gone. Most teams are not going to do well in that situation. So that'd be number one. And it happened all the time. It's still happening with Chris Paul. And then he goes to Philly, and let's just be real. That place you had Harden. I'm sorry, but James Harden has not demonstrated an ability to win when it matters, regardless of who his coach is. So I think you can have a space to say it's not Doc, it was the players. He was in some really interesting situations there was the injury front with the Clippers, which you can't control that. And then with the Sixers, Embiid doesn't know how to win yet. Embiid does not know how to win yet. And James Harden is not the greatest role model to have with him. Now, of course, we can go down a whole different path of, that's why you should have kept Jimmy Butler, which I'm in that camp. Y'all probably would have a chip by now if you kept Jimmy Butler, but that's a conversation for another time. So if you want to say, listen, the guy knows how to coach, he puts your teams in position to win, but at the end of the day, your players got to show up, that's fair. And if you got Giannis and you've got Dame Lillard saying, we want to play for him, then let's roll, because he hasn't really had that the last couple of years in Philly.
I like that side and I appreciate it. Okay. The man is 16 and 34 when he's got 3 wins in a 7-game series. He's blown look
at the guys he's had. When he left Boston, he's had a bunch of front runners.
When you're up 3-1,
front runners.
When you're up 3-1,
times get tough.
You're coaching. There's enough talent on that team. I don't care who's healthy and who's not. There's enough talent on that team to win one of the remaining 3 games if it goes that far. He did it, but this is the crazy part. He didn't just do it once with. You want to talk about? He did it with Orlando. Lost a 3-1.
Yeah, that's like 20 years ago, wasn't it? Did he have Grant Hill on that team?
I don't remember, but okay. Orlando lost a 3-1. Clippers lost a 3-1. Philly lost a 3-1. So
you just brought up like 2002
this is not
Orlando.
A normal thing. This is an extremely rare scenario in the history of the sport, and he's found himself in the center of it 3 times. Your coaching at some point you got to get paid to coach. So I agree with you. I think Chris Paul is arguably the best point guard of all time. Arguably, folks, he's not my greatest, but an argument can be made for those who understand how a game is controlled. So yes, you lose him. I understand that. That doesn't explain losing 3 in a row. You get paid to do something. Okay. If that's all it takes, then all I'm doing as a counter coach is getting your best player in foul trouble and then watching you fall apart because you can't do anything about it.
You mentioned a 20-game losing streak with Tracy McGrady. I don't think that was the thing with him.
I think so, because Gilbert Arenas brought it up, and then I went back and looked.
Are you sure?
I'm
All right,
maybe
we'll have to get our
let's
stat people. We'll have to
so
get our stat
yeah,
people
let's
on
go
it.
our stat people. But um, regardless, I don't. You made a very good points, but at the end of the day,
That's
you
fair.
just can't. You simply can't excuse everything. At some point, you've got to step up as a coach, and you're the
I
only one in history to blow it 3, 4 times. I mean, that's crazy.
he gets you there at least. But the other argument here, I think the more, what's the word? The thing we really need to be talking about here is not the fact that he was hired, it's when he was hired, right? When they hired Adrian Griffin over the summer, I'm pretty sure Doc Rivers was still out there to be hired. So if you wanted Doc Rivers, why the hell didn't you just hire him in the summer? You know, why? And well, because and then you bring a guy in, and I've heard a lot of folks on ESPN and other places, TNT, even talk about the fact that the dude was coach Adrian Griffin, right? They were the third ranked team in the league
Mm,
with respect to record, and that's the guy you get rid of in his first season when you just ran out the other coach who took you to an NBA championship. What are you doing? And if it's a Giannis doesn't want to play for him, well, then Giannis, I think we need to call you out in the same way that we call out LeBron James for always running coaches out. That's the only thing with LeBron that I got a thing on is that whenever he's got an issue with someone, they're gone, right? You don't work through it. You don't figure out a way to work through it. Maybe that's a generational thing. I don't know. But come on, what are we doing here? And that's not fair to Adrian Griffin. Whatever the defensive statistic, listen, they had the third best, they had the second best record in the East in his first head coaching gig, if I'm not mistaken.
yep, yep.
So
So what are you
that's the
doing?
big
And it sounds a lot like it sounds to transition over. By the way, we got the
yeah.
stats, and what happened was it was with Tracy McGrady. They lost 19 in a row. The first 10 were with Doc. He got fired, and then Davis came in and lost 9 in a row
Oh, it
after
was
that.
the Orlando Magic team, and they were
Yeah,
trash. Like that's dumb.
yeah. If you have Tracy McGrady in his prime, you should not be losing 19 in a row.
Tracy McGrady. Let okay. Can we talk? Okay, that's another segment. That's another
Wait a
segment for
second.
another time.
Don't before you say any blasphemy.
Didn't Tracy McGrady? Doesn't he have the record for some sort of most accomplished player to never win a first round playoff game? Like, what are
Can
we
I
talking
say
about
this?
here?
Here's what I'll say. Forget about my opinion, even though my opinion mimics that. There's one
How did they
opinion
not
who
win when him and Vince
here's
Carter were playing in
here's
Toronto?
here's an opinion that no one can argue because he is the most honest, brutally honest alpha in the history or
Steven
of
Jackson.
basketball, which is Kobe Bryant.
Okay,
Kobe
that's fair.
Bean Bryant.
Yeah.
And he is on record. He will let you know that Tracy McGrady was the toughest.
Oh,
I mean, the toughest matchup offensively, defensively that there was known
I'm
to
not
man for
arguing with
him.
that. I'm just
He's a
saying.
beast. You
I'm
can't
just
lose
saying.
19 in a row in a regular season where half these
The
players are
Orlando
out to lunch. I don't care who's on his team, Tracy McGrady, and then you know the the bench does not lose 19 in a row with good coaching. I don't want to hear. So,
Okay.
but anyway, that's really off
I'm pulling up
subject.
that
Let's
roster
get
just because
back
I'm
to it.
curious. Let's get to
So
the NFL. Let's
feel
get
free
to
to
the
do it. Right.
NFL.
Let's switch it, right? Because we're talking about how coaching, bringing in a first year coach to coach this veteran team that's so great and that didn't work out. So let's bring in a veteran who's done it. And here we go with
Is this the
everything that's happening.
squad? Is this the squad? Hold
Everything
on
that's
a
happening.
second.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Who's the squad?
I mean, maybe. I think was that 0304?
Oh three, yes.
Robert Archibald, Keith Bogans, good player. Andrew DeClerc, Derek
The
Dial,
clerk.
yeah, right. Pat Garrity, shout out Notre Dame.
Okay, Notre Dame.
Drew Gooden, Donnell Harvey, Jawan
Kansas.
Howard, Stephen Hunter, Ty Lue. That was after
Okay.
AI stepped
Yeah.
over him, so his NBA career slid after that. T Mac, Zaza Pachulia. Wow, I haven't seen that name in forever.
Zaza.
Sean Rooks, Deshaun Stevenson, Rod Strickland, and
Right.
and Shaman. So that's a team that we're surprised had a 20-game losing streak. I'm
Yes, I
sorry.
think
Okay.
any team in the NBA should not lose 20 in a row. I don't care who you are. You just shouldn't lose 20. You're in the NBA. You are a damn good player. All of you are. And at some point, you were absolutely destroying leagues growing up. And while you may not be the greatest in the NBA, you're still the greatest in the world.
Listen,
There's no reason why with good coaching you lose 19 in a row.
I don't want to put shade on guys that I never met and nothing like that. So I'm going to retract what I said. But I'm just saying I know that that team was not very. So I'm not
They had
okay.
Tracy T-Mac.
All right,
Okay, all
let's
right, let's
go.
switch up because we talk about the coaching shift
Yep,
and whatnot.
NFL
There's a carousel going on in the NFL.
almost
What
stopped.
say you?
Almost stopped.
There's
Yeah,
we had a big placement. Okay, I was wrong. You were right. With
I told
respect
you
to
Harbaugh was going to the Chargers. I
Harbaugh.
told you.
What do you say? And Falcons passing on Belichick. What do you think? What's going on here?
That's the
Seattle still hasn't placed their coach. What's going on?
Yeah, so Raheem Moore, I mean, I'm glad he got a gig and he's with Atlanta. That's super cool. I'm a little surprised. I wonder if teams are pushing back on Belichick because he comes from the Parcells school of you need to shop for the groceries, whatever that Parcells
Yeah.
quote that he had, right? I'm excited for Harbaugh. I'm sad. I'm really disappointed that my Bears didn't even talk to him to gauge his interest because they didn't make a decision till Wednesday, which was a day and a half after Michigan won the championship. So you could have at least spoken to his agent. I don't think that took place.
Wait, but weren't you the same one who said you didn't want to repeat history, and if you're gonna that you had to stay with the head coach if you're
Oh,
gonna
okay. Real quick. If you're going to keep Fields, you need to keep the head coach. If you're going to draft a
right,
quarterback, you should have got rid of everybody. So,
right,
so I guess we'll revisit this in a couple months, right?
okay,
If they trade
gotcha.
the first pick, then cool. Then I'm cool with it a little bit because I still say you can keep Justin Fields and bring in Jim Harbaugh is coming in having not coached in a game in 9 years. He has the highest career win percentage of any active NFL coach right now.
Mm.
Right. So that's a guy that only two teams interviewed, right? Like, so Belichick, again, I wonder if it's the whole GM thing. I think it would be cool for Washington to consider him because they need to stabilize that organization. Who better than to bring in Belichick? And there's also some interest, there's some irony there because I think that's where Lombardi went when he left the
Oh, did he?
Packers. So yeah, I believe so. But I think so. I got to check the record books on that. So wild. I'm glad Raheem Morris got a good gig. I'm interested in some of the coordinator moves. Philly did fantastic. The Bears, we'll see. I think the Williams guy that they just hired for DC comes with some good background, good experiences. Bringing in the Seattle um, coach to be the offensive coordinator, I'm kind of like, all right, I guess we'll see on that. But I'm excited with the moves that Philly made. I am a huge fan of Vic Fangio. Of course, the 2018 Bears, double doink Bears, but they were 12-4 for a reason because they had an amazing defense and Vic was the DC. So I'm glad the Eagles picked him up. What you got?
Well, first we do got confirmation that Lombardi spent his last year, one and only last year at Washington after taking a year off, retired, sat out a year, and then came back for his 10th. Um, I hear you. I am not. I agree in terms of Belichick and the GMing piece is probably the hold up. I'm more surprised actually that Vrabel hasn't been picked up. I think he's
Mm.
a phenomenal head coach. Um,
I could see
and
Seattle bringing him in. That would make sense.
yeah, but with respect to the Eagles coordinator selections, no, I'm not. Kellen Moore, cool. Although he doesn't have a track record for running the ball. Does he get rush yards? Yes. That's what everyone. Oh well, he had a combination 1,000 yards. Da, da, da. Yes, but that's not the same as running. When you run the ball and control the clock, it does stuff with the placement of the safeties and the commitment of your linebackers and that extra half second that they have to pay attention to the backfield makes a big difference on these short routes. So I want someone to run the ball, but will we get creative in scheming pass plays and things of that nature? Yes. And so I'd much rather him than what we've had. I just pray that he runs the ball a little bit more than he has in the past. As for Vic Fangio, I liked it 2 years ago.
Mm.
Not right
Not
now. I
now.
really don't because and shout out to B Webb who we had on the show last week. After he said what he said off the camera, we spoke, and his biggest um, complaint against him is basically a prevent defense. And it sounds a lot like Gannon's defense that we went to the Super Bowl with, don't get me wrong, but made every quarterback look like an all pro and made the all pro quarterbacks look Hall of Famish, 85% completion rates and whatnot. we did not get there because of him. It was despite him. And if that's what we're bringing to the table, I'm not sure we have. I don't know what type of talent we have up front to get its own pressure. So if you're going to sit back in defense and then allow them these little 5 yard, everything in front of you type defense, not
It's
take
the
chances,
it's the bend don't
not
break
blitz.
defense. It is. It's a bend don't
I'm
break.
not a fan of that. And I mean, I guess if your offense is explosive, you can do that because you're okay with giving up field goals. But I don't know. I'm not sold on the Fangio. What I am sold on is that they got some veteran folks in there. If you're making a playoff, a Super
Hmm.
Bowl run, you need veteran. You can't groom a new core. I don't like the grooming of new coordinators when
Yeah,
you're
right.
making a real run. You
Right.
can't. You done solidified all these positions, no question marks, and then no rookies that you're heavily relying on, but you're going to heavily rely on a rookie
Yeah.
coach. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
So I am glad that they've got some experience there since Sirianni clearly doesn't um, have control over anything. I don't know what he does, but we'll see. So, um, but that's it. I don't have much. I think we'll wait and see. I have to imagine Belichick's going to land somewhere that he wants to be. And if he doesn't, he'll sit out a year and come back next year. And there'll be plenty of people clamoring over him.
I
But
don't see. I don't think so because a year from now he's going to be 73 years old, and I just don't think that's going to happen. I just don't. It's not college. College, they hang out with
yeah,
an older coach. The NFL, that doesn't happen.
I just think if someone like Sirianni, who will not be calling plays on offense or defense and basically just checking to say, hey guys, how's it look? If he can have a job because he's so positive and upbeat, why can't someone with as much knowledge and a history of scheming to perfection against the high back to what was it, 89 or whatever, when he shut down the high explosive Bills offense as a defensive coordinator for the Giants, all the way up to knocking down the three of the most explosive
Yeah,
offenses in the history of the NFL,
he
the
shut him down.
Bills,
And the
the
Rams,
Rams, and then the Rams again. He didn't just like slow them down. He completely shut them down. Like unbelievably,
yep.
boom.
Again, I don't. I agree with you. I agree with you. But
He's
for
got
what
he's got the I would have man. So I
there,
think
there there's a
he's got to get one.
there's a lot of these coaching moves that I don't understand. Why Carolina brings in a rookie coach and lets Vrabel go, a person with so much cred and so much respect within the industry. Like there's all that stuff. Like
The
why
Titans.
Titans? I'm sorry, I said Carolina. I misspoke. Yeah, I meant the Titans. A lot of these moves just kind of like what are you doing? What are you doing? Atlanta makes sense. I think Raheem is a good addition. I'm excited for the
How
Chargers.
about Pierce? Pierce,
Excited
they
for
named him,
Pierce.
right?
Excited for Pierce and the Raiders. Like that, good decision, right? Uh, Another team that's messed that up in the past, right? When they got rid of Gruden and they had the interim, he got them playing well. I think they made the playoffs, and then for some reason you let them go. Like what? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
let Pierce chill. That's a spot. Like I hope Antonio does okay, but what if they don't do well middle of the season? Like, do you call Belichick and say, "Come on out and stabilize"? They need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. I still don't
They got
understand the Jimmy Garoppolo dynamic, which is just weird. Shout out to the NFL to ESPN. Chris Canty. Chris Canty, you asked a question on your show, I think on Thursday or Friday. Asked me, what is the difference between Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo? The difference, and this maybe is our transition to the playoffs, Donray, is that the 49ers do not have a play scheme in which they only ask Brock Purdy to throw the ball 8 times. When Garoppolo was a quarterback of San Francisco, look at the stats. How many times in the playoffs? I think it even happened like in the NFC Championship or maybe the playoffs
yeah,
or the Super Bowl, where he threw it 8 times.
yeah.
Brock Purdy, he chucks the ball over the field. He just needs to have a stable offensive line and needs Debo in the lineup. And what quarterback doesn't need that? So
Exactly.
just saying. But yeah, with the coaching moves, awesome stuff. I'm excited to see the Bears brought in some decent talent in the coaching ranks. So I just hope they keep Justin. So we'll see. Stay tuned. This will be a constant thing for me between
Yeah.
now and the NFL draft. So let's wrap up with the playoffs, Donray. And we've got
Oof.
4 teams left. Let's lightning
Well,
round this. What do you got?
yeah. Well, simply put, I'm pulling for the Lions. I'm sure they're America's sweetheart at this point. Green
Shout
Bay
out Craig
can't.
Reynolds, KU.
Craig Reynolds, KU, putting in the go ahead TD. Also from Abington, PA,
That sounds
which
right.
is
Yeah.
right
Anthony
around
Lee.
my stop where I
Hey
went to high
Lee.
school. Um, they and so great job by them. Great scheme. They played well. Shout out to Tampa. They played a good game, but the Lions did what the Lions should have done. They should have a home game this weekend. Green Bay decided they wanted to hand over the game. I don't know why they can't catch. Purdy's going to be looked at as there should have been picks. This shouldn't have been a game. And then Love decided to do his best Favre impression. I don't know what that was, but
That was
and then the
terrible.
missed field goal. I mean, they literally
He
just
just
gave them
chucked
the
it
game.
on first
San Fran
down.
should not be playing this weekend.
It was
And I would
first
love to hear
down.
the San Fran lovers complain, oh, this game doesn't count because Debo got hurt or whatever excuse they'll use. So obviously I'm pulling for Detroit and I hope they do it. Will it happen? I don't know. San Fran's a really good team, but if Purdy plays the way he did last week, they're going to lose. Um, but I'm pulling for Detroit and I'm going to let my bias take over my pick. I'm picking Detroit. Um, and then in the AFC, um, Baltimore said we're for real.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
Kansas City
defense.
got away with one. Buffalo, it wasn't Josh Allen, Josh Allening. He played well. Um, drop passes. Again, Buffalo had that game, missed field goal, but the drop passes that no one's talking about. He Allen played well. They should have won that game as well. But woulda, shoulda, coulda. Now we've got KC, Baltimore. Would it surprise me if KC finds a way to get in there? No, because that's what they do. They find a way. And
Mm-hmm.
also, the ref for that game, the head
Oh
ref,
yeah, I saw that.
did you see that statistic where he
Yep.
is,
He
very
favors
favorable
the
to the
away
away
team.
team?
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Baltimore. I'm going to go with Baltimore, Detroit. That's my heart picking, but I don't care. I'm going with it. Baltimore, Detroit. Um, we'll see in a couple weeks playing for the big one. And I see here's what I see. I don't see the NFC game being a game. If it happens the way my heart, not my head, admittedly, if it happens the way my heart says, it's going to be like a 37 to 10 to 13 drubbing. Um, Now that's my heart speaking, folks. I understand that. That's what I'm hoping for, but that's what I know that can happen. If last week's Detroit team plays against last week's San Fran team, that is a blowout and it's not close because it gets away from them, and now Purdy's got to drop back every single time, ears pinned back. You know, Hutchins, it's a wrap for him if it gets to that point where they got to rely solely on him and McCaffrey's taking out the game somewhat, at least the running game. So that's what I'm saying. What say you, sir?
I say kind of similar. My head is telling me that my head is conflicted actually, because it's thinking Detroit, but my head is also saying the Chicago Bears, if they had a functional offensive coordinator, would have swept Detroit, right? I mean,
Sure.
these are the stats. If they had a functional offensive coordinator in that first game, they should have won in a pretty similar manner in which they did win in the second game. And how did they win? They made Jared Goff's life a living hell during the game. They brought pressure. They brought pressure mostly with 4 guys. And Montez Sweat was an amazing acquisition, an occasional blitz action from the perimeter, but interceptions upon interceptions upon interceptions. 7 of the 8 quarters, the Bears dominated them. Yes, I almost said Blair's there. Right? That's how much I associate with the Bears. But so I say that simply because San Francisco has got a solid front four as well. So if they can replicate that kind of pressure, every team should be pulling up that Bears film from Detroit because they showed how to beat them. Um, so that's where my head's conflicted because I saw what I saw
Has he
last
thrown a
weekend.
pick yet? He didn't throw a pick last week, and Dallas,
You got to bring the pressure.
or not
You got to
Dallas.
bring the
Yeah,
pressure. You got to bring, and
yeah,
you've got to
okay,
bring the pressure with the front four. And Tampa's got a really good stout interior for the running defense, but off with the pass rush, I
okay,
just don't think they
okay.
bring it in the same way. So San Francisco can. So San Francisco can bring that, and Debo's okay. I actually think it can be a route the other way. And that's how it was for Chicago when they played them. It was 28-14, 13, something like that. So, but I'm conflicted because, again, what we saw last week, right, which was San Francisco not doing too well against Green Bay. So my pick is going to be San Francisco. I also can't pick Detroit as a Bears fan. So I still got images of Barry Sanders breaking everyone's ankles in the Bears defense in the 90s. And then on the AFC side, I have full faith in Baltimore. This is their year. Their defense is outstanding. Roquan, I wish you were still wearing Chicago blue and orange. Loved him going back to Georgia. Chiefs with their wide receiver deficiencies this season. This is going to be the game which
Catches up to him.
it stops. Yeah. Taylor Swift, love the energy that you brought to the games. A whole different segment of fans to the game. Awesome stuff. Shout out to the haters. Like, y'all got to stop it. Like 90 seconds worth of cutouts to just see how she's reacted, and the box is not that big of a deal. But yeah, Baltimore's going to win. I see a rematch of the Super Bowl from about 10 years ago. Baltimore versus San Francisco.
Wow.
Here we go.
Okay. Well, either way, if San Fran wins, it's a rematch from a couple years ago when Garoppolo played against Mahomes.
Yeah, that was the
AC.
hardball Super Bowl. That was the hardball Super Bowl. So,
Yep. No,
oh yeah.
the KC one.
Casey,
So
yeah,
if San Fran wins, it's a
true. Yeah,
repeat
sorry.
of something within the last decade. But
Yeah.
well, that wraps it up. Any final pieces? Any final statements from
Deuces,
you?
everyone. No final
Yeah.
statements. We got Black History Month coming up in just a couple days. I just want to give shout out to some of the amazing stuff we're going to see. I know the pros, the NBA usually does a pretty decent job with that. So just a special shout out to that time of year. And I'm excited because March Madness, can you smell it?
It's
It's right
right
around the
around the
corner.
corner.
Yeah.
Oh yes, my favorite time of year. My parting, I gotta,
Oh,
I was talking about
flies.
my Fly Boys last week in the midst of a 5-game win streak, and then by the time we record again, they're in a 5-game losing streak. So not too much to be said about there, except they did just extend Tippett, which is cool. Um, but maybe one day we'll get around to our Fly
Nice.
Boys or our gentlemen on ice. But right now, it's high flying football season,
Yeah, let's see what
and
we got this
soon,
weekend.
absolutely. So that's it on my end. It's been a pleasure. We'll be
Deuces,
back
everyone.
soon. All right.
In the spirit of PTI, instead of saying good night, Canada, good night, Venezuela. So peace and love. Ciao.